What's up, weirdos, and welcome back to another episode of Universe of Weirdos. I am Jay Kraft, and I used to tell you that I was the last chance to evacuate planet Earth before it was recycled. But I'm not sure if that's all that accurate, because it seems like the Heaven's Gate cult is our last chance to evacuate planet Earth before it is recycled, and going over their initiation tapes, I thought that I might have found something that we could have all believed in, but man, it's turning out to be bullshit, isn't it? It's turning out to be nonsense. Who would think that a guy who claimed that Jesus inherited his body in his 60s and then decided to tell everyone to kill themselves to board a spaceship would come across as a little bit nonsensical? Now, who would have ever thought that? Now, like I have said before, this is our final part in our Heaven's Gate initiation tape series. And like I have said before, I have to get stoned in order to do these. And the explanation is simple. This guy has recruited people into his cult. He convinced them to eat cyanide-laced applesauce. And you listen to his tape when you're sober and you go, who the fuck would believe this? You must be high if you were able to get on this guy's side. So my experiment was, well, then let me get high and listen to what he has to say. Let's see if it makes any sense. And, well, it doesn't. It still doesn't. So continuing with our tradition, I am smoking myself a nice fat blunt right now, and I am drinking a THC-infused coffee that I've had a few sips of so far, and I mean, it's not bad. I'll tell you that. It's not the worst thing that I've ever had as far as coffee goes. It's actually a pretty decent coffee. But, you know, I'm smoking a little bit of a blunt. I am a proper level of stoned, I feel like, to continue to listen to Marshall Applewhite talk about his journey into outer space so we can join the kingdom of heaven off of Earth, because Earth is about to be recycled. If you haven't listened to the previous three parts of our Heaven's Gate initiation audio, at least go back and listen to the third part, because it was kind of chopped up into two different parts. The first two parts, I went over the first half of his tape. The second two parts, the third part, I'm going over the second half. Sorry, I'm a little bit high. I'm a little bit stoned and rambly right now. But we are going to continue with this, and our last time he established the fact that Earth was going to be recycled. Joining Heaven's Gate was our last chance to evacuate Earth before that happened. And he said that it was really urgent, even though that was 30-something years ago, still hasn't happened. And he also wanted to let us know that it is possible for Jesus to be reincarnated into another person's body after they had already lived a life. And basically his way of justifying, no, I am Jesus reborn, but I understand that you know who I used to be, and that you know all of my different events that I have done in life. So I got to make up some bullshit to help convince you that I am Jesus reincarnate. So we're going to go ahead, and I rewound a few minutes where we left off a few minutes before I cut, so he can make that stupid point about being reincarnated as Jesus again. And then we're going to hear him out. We're going to finish up this one while I smoke this blunt, and I'm going to get higher and higher and hope he makes more sense, but I bet you he doesn't. So let's keep going with the Heaven's Gate initiation tape.
The body I'm wearing is, 65 years old. Yes, the body is that old. I entered at the same time my older member entered, which was in the early 70s. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Whether I'm New Age or what, I'm not that I'm New Age, but whatever your belief is regarding reincarnation.
So he was reincarnated as Jesus in his 40s, according to him.
Reincarnation occurs at the beginning of an infant's life. No, I'm sorry to say that's not accurate. A mind begins when that infant is born, and that genetic package that's in that infant begins to express itself as that mind develops.
I got a genetic package for you.
It is a spirit. But then a spirit or a mind that had previously occupied another human plant, but has gone into the spirit world, or is outside of a body because it lost its body from death or whatever, but is in the environment, can move in and take over that vehicle and be stronger than the mind that is the mind of that vehicle. In other words, it can
Again, I don't like to pause these because I like to talk over him because he's a rambly fuck and it takes a while to get through if I end up pausing them. But how many other times has this happened? How many other times has somebody overtaken another person's mind in reincarnation throughout human history? If you're saying that it's happened and that it's possible to happen, surely you and one other person that ran the cult weren't the only people this has ever happened to. So give me some more examples of somebody who at 35 years old, another entity who's been long dead, invaded their mind and took over their body. Please explain it. I don't think you're going to, but let's keep going.
That vehicle, it can take it over, it can pretty much keep the mind of that vehicle quiet and do what it wants to do with that vehicle.
Shut the fuck up, I'm running your vehicle right now.
This. They teach spirits to do this after they leave their bodies. They let them know that they're capable of doing that. You can say, okay, you mean that you and T came into bodies in 72, so you're body snatchers, in a sense. Well, if my father, if the level above human made this garden and its design, made the human plants for their purposes, and my father sent T and my grandfather,
human
T's
plants,
father, sent us into this environment with a crew that had
hold
work
on
to
a
do.
second here. T's father, I thought T, now, again, a little bit of backstory here in case you haven't listened to the third parts. He is Doe. Marshall Applewhite calls himself Doe, and his mentor was T. Now, T was a woman that he started this cult with, and she died of cancer, and he tried to, I don't know, somehow do these mental gymnastics of how somebody who was claiming to be God, reincarnate, died. So that's how he was able to do this whole, she shed her earthly vessel or whatever. But I thought that T was supposed to be God. So T's father, who was T's father? Who invented God? I'm really wondering. Who gave birth to God, Marshall Applewhite? Can you please tell us all of the answers and mysteries of the universe, please?
And yet we did come in and prep the vehicles. We actually took even this plant that I'm wearing, this vehicle that I'm wearing, and the plants of the crew, the classroom, the plant that T chose to wear, those were all set aside in a sense. A deposit of a little bit of information was put in those plants that set them aside for the time that the mind was to significantly come in. And therefore the mind that is now in here is almost like cannot relate to what that plant was prior to the time that it came in significantly. So who the plant was that I'm now wearing prior to the early 70s is just a fuzzy, dismal memory, because it's just like taking on a suit of clothes that had a history to it. And if I tried, I could invade some of that history and dredge it up, but it's so unattractive to me, and it's such a low vibration to me, if I can use that word without sounding new.
This is it right here, this whole thing. He was basically just admitting to it, like, hey, look, if I really think back, I can remember who I used to be, the guy who was such a repressed gay man that I had to do this thing where I say all human fucking emotions are terrible. If I think back on it, I can remember the type of person that I was, but it's so painful to me that I just decided, I'll just pretend to be Jesus instead. That's what he's saying. What a fucked up weirdo, man. It represses all of those memories, and if I really think back, I can remember them. Of course you can. But I think that if what you were saying was true, that if another entity could invade your human vessel and take over the mind, then you wouldn't remember shit. They would just become the new person and drown you out completely. And wouldn't you Aren't you like basically describing like the sunken place from Get Out? Like you would be far back in that mind going like, fucking let me out of here, please. I used to be somebody and now this fucking angel has taken over my mind and they're supposed to be the good guys. But instead they've buried me deep back into the recesses of my own brain and I can't even function with my own body. I'm a prisoner to my own experiences, and somehow you're the good guy who took over my brain. I don't know. There seems to be a contradictory flaw in that logic there, Applewhite, but let's keep going.
To some. But it's repulsive to me because it's certainly very human, because this vehicle certainly indulged in human behavior, human addictions, human ways, as every other human does.
I used to drink and suck cock like the best of them.
Were brought into this environment in the early 70s. A spacecraft brought us in. Remember, it's a physical world. Spacecraft brought us in, and actually we came in first and made deposits, our little information deposits, in our vehicles when they were infants. So that means we had to come in the 20s and 30s, and then we had to come in and make deposits in the vehicles of all the classroom that's sitting here in front of me. You know, several dozen individuals sitting here in front of me, their vehicles had to have little deposits made.
How you convince several dozen people that you aren't full of shit is beyond me.
And now it's difficult to accept the information that I'm telling you. If you knew how to interpret some of the religious documents that have been left for you, you would interpret them exactly as I am telling you. But
well, then
it's
teach
not
us,
popular
fuckface.
to do that. The lower forces would have you interpret that information, those documents, entirely differently, because the lower forces, Satan, Lucifer, fallen angels, all of those that are against the real kingdom of God, they would have you not reach that kingdom. They are delighted to serve as your God. They will give you the things that will make you happy in this world. If you want to, you can praise their name and ask for riches, ask for anything that you want. They will give you the things that you want.
Will you give me
and
riches?
Make you feel good about it. It's
give me $7,200 and I'll join this Heaven's Gate cult.
That God wants you to live an abundant life. And so ask Him for what your needs are. He doesn't want you to be raggedy and poor. And of course that's true, He doesn't. But that doesn't justify seeking a kingdom here instead of seeking His kingdom. You don't seek His kingdom unless you seek to get out of this kingdom. You can't have both. His kingdom is never going to
Why can't I have money and
with the human kingdom?
Have a great time on earth and then die and go to heaven?
Like the humans getting down on their all fours and existing with the dog kingdom and having an exchange there and the humans staying and restricted to dog houses and restricted to dog food and restricted to dog behavior. It doesn't make any sense.
Some people might be into that. Sounds
kinky. Why would the kingdom that made the human kingdom find fulfillment in the human kingdom? Now, a remarkable thing exists, the most remarkable thing that you can possibly imagine, and that is their design was that they could make these little mental deposits in human plants. We'll call those deposits.
Well, somebody made a mental deposit in me saying that you're full of shit.
And those little deposits are really just like a little bit of hardware or a little capacity for information. It's a storehouse for information. And in that little soul there is a little bit of next level mind. And wherever that next level made those deposits in human plants of souls, there is a little bit of information in those souls, and that little bit of information can permit the person who has that soul to actually recognize the kind of information that I am passing to you now.
Why wouldn't they just deposit all of the information, and since you can take over a mind anyways, manipulate the mind to be able to understand all of this stuff? and deposit the information, not little bits of it, but very specific, large quantities of that information, since they have the ability to do this complete sci-fi nonsense anyways. Why wouldn't they just deposit the entire thought and the whole concept? I am starting to think that maybe he's making this up. I'm starting to disbelieve him a little bit.
Now, even as you listen to me, you might recognize it, but the lower forces and your genetic programming, everything says, oh, don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. That's horrible.
No,
that's
everything in my mind says that you're full of shit.
I know it. That's something altogether different.
Yes, lying.
That what
it's
you
a carny
have been
trick.
Listening to, I am not blaming you for listening to it. You hardly stood a chance. The lower
thank you for
forces,
giving me the benefit
these
of the
forces
doubt.
have been so strong and have developed so strong that they have just brainwashed and kept totally intoxicated humans at every level around the globe, so that they're totally preoccupied with make money, put it in the bank, have more children, have more grandchildren, send them to college, leave all this so that they can have a future and they can have a future and they...
I'd rather do all of that than kill myself, bro.
Human kingdom.
That was your solution.
Extend human
suicide.
Kingdom. Oh yes, we go to church once in a while and we talk about heaven, talk about kingdom of heaven, but we really, it's like most people don't even want to touch it because they don't really know what it is. They just have to have the faith that, oh well, that's what I go to if I've been good. And I just have to trust that that's what I go to. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm pretty sure religions that talk about heaven talk about it a lot. And they talk about, that's the cosmic reward, dude.
That's where my trust is.
They don't ever really talk about heaven. They just say that's where you go.
It's not your fault.
What?
I know that's where your trust is. I know that's where your faith is. And I'm desperate to
and they're getting choked up again, dude. That's human. That's human.
So that you can leave this place. Now, 3 kinds of individuals can have a possible future with the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven.
Okay. Remind us.
One kind of individual that can have a future are those who have had deposits of souls and have started... Oh, a few minutes ago I started to tell you this remarkable design. And I've got to go back to
yeah. Sorry, I forgot this one thing.
This design is what a soul can become. How a soul can be deposited.
I forgot this other
in a
piece
human
of
vehicle.
bullshit that I needed to tell you.
Those deposits are made at a time right prior to a representative of the kingdom level above human coming into the human kingdom, taking a human body, and telling the truth about what the human kingdom really is, what the kingdom level above human really is, and giving that information a chance to build in those souls. Now,
if they're already from the kingdom of heaven or whatever the fuck you want to call it, now if they're really from this kingdom of heaven, this evolutionary plane above all things human, this great perfect paradise, why do they want to come to earth and invade human bodies to begin with? Why wouldn't they just stay in heaven? Are you going to answer that question for us? Go ahead.
If a human plant has a soul, then that human plant has to find someone who is from that kingdom level. And that individual is here to try to help those get information that can lead them out of the human kingdom. So that individual is going to say, I'm from the kingdom of heaven. Oh my goodness, how blasphemous can someone be?
Well, how stupid does that sound?
How can they offer anything if they don't identify who they are? They're saying, you want to go to heaven? I'm here. I'm sent here for the express purpose of helping you get to the kingdom of heaven. Now, the remarkable little process that happens, if a human plant, if an individual who has that little deposit of soul, hears that voice that says, I'm from the kingdom of heaven, I can help you go to the kingdom of heaven, then that individual experiences severe pain and begins to break away from...
I can help you go to the kingdom of heaven by feeding you a bunch of fucking applesauce that's laced with cyanide and killing you. For whatever reason, their tape cut off right here. It just became a blue, screen. That's very weird. But I mean, I don't seem to understand his logic here. We can invade these souls will come to heaven and invade your mind.
Skin Awareness Month.
And
Call
then,
1-800
okay, weird. That's weird. But yeah, so these things can come and invade your mind and invade your soul and then take you to heaven. But doesn't that make you not yourself? Aren't you not you if they are invading your soul? Like, isn't that like how this works? Like, do both souls go to heaven? Since you're Jesus, does Jesus and Marshall Applewhite's soul then descend to heaven? I'm here to help you get to heaven, he says. And his way of helping you get to heaven is telling you to kill yourself. Anybody can do that. Hey, I can help you get to heaven too. Just shoot you in the fucking head. I don't seem to understand this, but let's just go ahead and end with this, because this seems to be where all of this is going, and this isn't his initiation tape anymore.
Salters. The largest mass suicide in U.S. history was indeed a well-planned event. The dead were all found lying on cots and bunk beds. They wore the same clothing, the same brand-new tennis shoes, their personal belongings placed carefully by their sides. Investigators say the mass suicide occurred in stages. One group of 15, followed by another, and then a final group of 9, all had instructions on how to follow a deadly recipe.
Put the medicine in and stir it. And then eat it quickly, drink this vodka mixture, which they apparently had mixed up, and then lay back and rest quietly.
Authorities say identifying the bodies was easy once they were removed from the home. The victims all left ID. The group also left behind a videotape, an attempt to explain the question they knew the world would ask. Why?
I'm really happy that I made this choice.
We're looking forward to this. We're happy and excited.
The victims were all members of a religious cult called Heaven's Gate. They believed their deaths would transport their spirits to a spaceship trailing behind the Hale-Bopp comet.
Well, we're still here. And not for long.
Along with the tape, the group also left a letter to the news media saying, quote, "By the time you receive this, we'll be gone. Several dozen of us. We came from the level above human in distant space, and we have now exited the bodies that we were wearing for our earthly task. To return to the world from whence we came, task completed." In addition to its own website, the group constructed web pages for businesses, but few of those clients knew about the bizarre motivation behind Heaven's Gate. These recruiting tapes were made by the group's leader, Marshall Applewhite, known to his followers as Doe.
We have no hesitation to leave this place, to leave the body that we have.
Back in 1975, Applewhite and a nurse he met in a psychiatric hospital co-founded a religious sect called The Two.
That seems to
the
make
woman
sense.
died in 1985. It is believed Applewhite was one of the dead in Rancho Santa Fe.
Oh, he definitely
and
was.
Authorities have now confirmed that one of the 39 victims was indeed Marshall Applewhite, but no other identifications are being released at this time. Sheil?
Lisa, what do people in the community know or suspect about Applewhite and the group?
Well, remember, Heaven's Gate ran this business of constructing web pages for organizations. Of the clients that we have spoken to, they all say that Marshall Applewhite, though he was in some sense strange, he was very good at what he did. He was very good at constructing these web pages, and they were very pleased with the job that he did. A very different picture of the man that we see on these videotapes, who is talking about ascending to heaven in a UFO.
Lisa, thank you. ABC's Lisa Salters in Rancho Santa Fe this morning.
More on that subject. Since the beginning of recorded history, people have turned to the skies for signs of things to come. The Heaven's Gate cult brought together some of the more ancient beliefs with the newest technology. More on that part of the story right now from ABC's Ned Potter.
All right, let's hear it.
Every night in the eastern sky, Comet Hale-Bopp appears as if it were a new star.
Fuck yeah, dude,
It's
I'm
not
getting
the first
higher
time
than the
a celestial
Hale-Bopp
event
comet
has been
right
used
now.
as a marker of some great transformation. In fact, some scholars think of the Star of Bethlehem, which signaled the birth of Jesus almost exactly 2,000 years ago. As the new millennium approaches, sights like the comet take on added meaning. It's much the same as it ever was, but at the end of the 20th century, there are new aspects to it, from the belief in UFOs to a faith in technology. Rick Bauer is an expert both on cults and computers. He says as the calendar races toward the year 2000, a cult can seem very comforting.
It brings certainty in a very uncertain world. It provides salvation in a very insecure world, and so it's very attractive.
There are, of course, parallels to mass deaths of the past. The Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas, saw themselves as preparing for a final battle between good and evil.
That might be a
in
future
Switzerland
one
and Canada, the so-called Solar Temple cult was also waiting for the millennium and the apocalypse it might bring.
In some sense, their millennium is their personal millennium, that they're ending their world and joining a new world.
One stark difference with the California group
2000
is that unlike
zero
the
zero
Branch
party
Davidians
over
and other
oops out of
cases,
time.
there was no confrontation with the outside world. Nobody trying to surround and crush them. No obvious trigger for what happened, except perhaps the millennium and a comet in the east. Ned Potter, ABC News, New York.
Coming up later in this half hour, an expert on cults peers into Heaven's Gate.
Let's hear
In
him.
other news, 29 years after the murder of Dr. Martin Luther King, his family is declaring James Earl Ray innocent.
Oh, they are? Okay. I
29
don't need to know that, but that's okay. I didn't know that Martin Luther King's family thought that James Earl Ray was innocent. So that's news to me. I might have to look into that one as well. But yeah, guys, that's the Heaven's Gate cult, huh? That was their initiation tape, him telling you, hey, you can be a heavenly body and we can join this cult. You can listen to what I have to say, and then we will board this wonderful spaceship together, shed our earthly vessels, and go off to the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom above human, where we can all live peacefully and happily and have such a great time. And it's like, oh, okay, how do I do that? Kill yourself. You do it by killing yourself. This dude obviously wanted to die. He had a very shitty life. He was very confused as to what he was and where he was going in his life. And if you see the documentary on HBO, there's an HBO documentary about Heaven's Gate. And if you watch it, you understand that he had just a lot of repressed stuff. Like he was obviously gay. There was even a guy that he had like a big infatuation with. And since, he was born in the 30s, you weren't allowed to be gay. And he decided to repress all things human. Everything human is bad. No human emotions. Don't ever have sex. Even cut your dick off if you need to. But, don't do anything human because we got to get out of here and get to heaven. Sounds like it's not worth it. It sounds like that evolutionary kingdom above human isn't very fun if I'm not allowed to enjoy my earthly pleasures. Well, like, what's the point of being on Earth if I can't enjoy the pleasures of being on Earth? You don't seem to make a whole lot of sense. And I gotta say, I don't think I'm going to be joining the Heaven's Gate cult, guys. I really don't think it's gonna happen. We're gonna have to look further into another cult, I think, because I don't want to eat poisoned applesauce, and I'm also, I don't drink anymore, so I don't want any of that vodka mixture that they had either. Man, that's fucked up. Some really weird people in the 90s, and, doomsday cults are always fun, and Heaven's Gate left a lot of tapes for us to go over, so that's the beauty of them. And I don't think that they're worth it. They still have a presence today. There's still people that keep up their website and still run their socials and shit like that. So there are still Heaven's Gate cult members. I don't know why. I don't know how they haven't killed themselves yet. I don't know how you can recruit someone into a cult when your end game is, now we all know that it is, well, you're eventually going to commit suicide. And it's like, well, I don't know if I want to do that. I think I'll just die the regular way that everybody dies, which is, I don't know, normally cancer or car accident or heart disease, or it just doesn't sound pleasant to die in general, does it? So, I'd rather live as long as I can. No, thank you. I don't want to die from your Heaven's Gate cult. But that is it for me for this episode of Universe of Weirdos, and I will be back in a future episode with another cult. I just need to pick which cult it is because I love going over these guys. And if they have little weird bits of audio that I can play and react to, even better. So I know of one cult out there that worshipped Final Fantasy VII, the video game, specifically the 7th installment of Final Fantasy. So that one's going to be interesting. That one might be my next one to look over. Not sure if there's a whole lot of audio that I can react to involved in that, but we'll see. Branch Davidians, you know, people have suggested Jonestown. I don't necessarily want to do Jonestown. There's a million cults out there, and I'm going to find the weird ones, and we're going to keep reviewing them. Coming up soon on Universe of Weirdos, I have some other things, some true crime stuff that I'm going to do with my wife. I have a Home of the Future series of PSAs that I want to review. Some other 1950s, 1940s type of things, and a lot of other various weirdness. I got an Origins coming. I just got to do the research, man, but that's going to be it for me. I guess I will see you soon. Follow me on my socials, jcraft247 on X, Universe of Weirdos on Instagram, or send me an email, universeofweirdos@gmail.com. And don't forget to like, share, review, and give a 5 stars to this podcast on any podcast platform you're listening on. I will see you next time. I love you. Blasting off. See ya!